Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're peeling back the layers on something really quite fascinating in the plant world. Variegation.
Mm.
That unexpected splash of cream or white or gold that just disrupts the usual green, turns a common plant into something, well, pretty special.
Yeah, highly collectible sometime.
Exactly. And we're focusing today on a very specific, quite rare find related to the Euphorbia Milii. Most people probably know it as the Crown of Thorns.
Right. And our mission here for you listening is quite focused. We're diving into some notes from a grower, a really dedicated gardener who stumbled across this amazing variegated crown of thorns.
Okay.
But here's the catch. It wasn't for sale. Couldn't buy it. So we're going to unpack that discovery, look at where it likely came from, think international supply chains, and then get into this really interesting aesthetic debate. Why might the original native look still be better?
That is interesting. And yeah, the source material is great. It's literally field notes, from a routine supply run, detailing this one unexpected moment.
Yeah, it's like a little window into that world.
So let's set the scene visually. The standard Euphorbia Milii, the crown of thorns you usually see. It's known for being tough, sure, but visually, the notes say its leaves are typically a really dark green.
Gives it that very sort of deeply colored overall appearance. Quite dense looking.
Right. Dense, robust, almost creates shadows within the foliage.
Exactly. That's the baseline. But the plant this gardener spotted, it was, well, completely different. An anomaly.
How so?
Instead of that heavy green, the notes say the leaves had these creamy white sections. It made the whole plant look, and this is their description, quite light and refreshingly vibrant, especially next to the regular ones.
You can just picture it standing out, can't you?
Absolutely. It wouldn't just be a subtle difference. It's like a spotlight turned on it. A total visual shift.
I can just imagine the grower, like mid-aisle, probably looking for fertilizer or something, and just stopping. Seeing this thing almost glowing.
Yeah, that's the moment, isn't it? Serendipity.
But here's the crucial part, confirming how special this find was. When they asked about buying it.
The answer was a definite no. Not for sale.
Okay, so why not? If it's so striking.
Well, that denial tells you everything about its status. The notes clarify it was being kept back, specifically used as a mother plant for propagation.
A mother plant. Now, for listeners maybe not deep into the commercial side of growing, that term is key. Right?
Absolutely critical. Let's unpack that.
Yeah. Why is it a factory, essentially, and not just a product they could sell?
It comes down to market control and, honestly, genetic investment. When you get a really desirable mutation, like this variegation, assuming it's stable, which is important, it's often genetically, well, specific.
Meaning you can't just grow it from seed and expect the same pattern?
Usually not reliably, no. Seeds often revert back to the standard green, or the variegation is unstable. So the only way to guarantee you get more plants that look exactly like this one with that specific genetic stripe
Is by taking cuttings.
Yep.
Cloning it.
Precisely. You're essentially cloning the original. So they're not just holding it back, they're protecting the source code, as you said earlier.
Right. Every cutting that takes hold from that mother plant becomes another potential source, allowing them to eventually scale up production of this, very desirable, probably premium-priced plant.
Exactly. We're seeing the very beginning of its commercial journey here. It's all about multiplying the asset until they have enough stock to actually launch it.
Fascinating. Okay, so where does this specific variant come from? Does the grower have any idea?
Yeah, the gardener gathered, through conversation probably, that this particular variegated cultivar seems to have originated in Thailand.
Thailand. Okay, that clicks. But tell us more, why Thailand? What makes it such a hub for this kind of thing?
Well, the field notes mention this explicitly. Thailand is cited as a, quote, renowned producer of diverse cultivars. And interestingly, not just for plants like the crown of thorns.
But for what else?
Ornamental fish, too. Think fancy guppies, bettas. That link between specialized plant breeding and fish breeding is really telling.
It is, isn't it? It suggests a deep, kind of established expertise there.
Definitely. It's not just that Thailand has the right climate for tropical plants, which it does. It seems to have the historical know-how, the infrastructure, the skilled growers, all focused on developing and exporting these unique genetic traits.
So they're specializing in aesthetic mutations, basically, across different life forms.
It seems that way. The climate helps, sure, but the skill set required for selective breeding, spotting a desirable trait, stabilizing it, propagating it, that core skill is transferable, whether it's a fish fin or a leaf pattern.
Okay, that makes sense then. You're not talking random luck. It's deliberate cultivation strategy, happening at a high level.
Right. Which explains why a high-value mother plant like this, needing careful cloning, would trace back to a specialized global hub like Thailand. It's an efficient pipeline for aesthetic biodiversity, if you like.
Like the Silicon Valley for pretty plants and fish.
Huh? Yeah, something like that. Expertise gets concentrated, and when a rare, stable mutation pops up, they can leverage it fast, move it from a single discovery to potentially a global product fairly quickly.
Okay, so we've got the rarity, the commercial strategy, the Thai connection. But now let's get to that aesthetic curveball you mentioned.
Right.
You'd think the gardener who found this amazing, bright, variegated plant would be totally smitten, right? Wanting one for themselves.
You'd assume so. But the notes throw in this fascinating counterpoint. The grower actually says that while, yes, many people prefer variegated cultivars, they personally still favor the original, the native dark green look.
Really, after seeing the rare version, why?
And they give a really interesting reason. It's not just, oh, I like green. They argue that the lush green look, which they admit can seem almost dull on its own, is preferred for a specific functional reason in the context of the whole plant.
Okay, I have to push back a little here. We just established the variegated one is light, vibrant, rare. Wouldn't those lighter, creamier leaves actually make the Crown of Thorns famous bright flowers? The reds, the pinks, stand out more, like a brighter backdrop.
That's a totally valid point from a design perspective. Light background, bright subject, classic contrast.
Yeah, less shadow, more spotlight on the bloom.
But the gardener's argument is about a different kind of contrast, one of depth, maybe drama. They specifically prefer the classic dark leaves because they create a, quote, striking contrast against those brilliant flowers.
How does that work?
The idea is when the leaves are that deep dark green, they visually recede. They create depth. They become a sort of shadow box that makes the vibrant color of the flowers really pop forward. The dark leaf doesn't just contrast the flower color, it frames it, anchors it, maximizes its punch.
So the dullness of the native leaf isn't a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly. It's the ultimate supporting actor. It lets the star of the flower shine brighter. The argument suggests that if the leaves were lighter, busier with the variegation pattern, they might compete for attention.
Or even wash out the intensity of the flower color against a paler background.
Potentially, yeah. It might dilute the overall impact.
Yeah.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it? How often is that supporting color, that context, essential for the main feature to look its best?
Right. The dark green provides visual weight, makes the plant feel grounded, and gives those bright flowers the dramatic stage they need.
It's about balance, visual hierarchy. It's a great reminder that the classic version isn't just classic because it came first. Sometimes it's superior because of the aesthetic function it serves.
That is a fantastic insight to pull from just a few lines in a notebook. It highlights that what's commercially valuable to variegation isn't always what someone finds most aesthetically powerful. Those two things can diverge.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive. First, that stark visual difference. The typical dark, dense native leaf versus this light, vibrant, sought-after variegated one. Second, understanding the significance of that variegated plant not being for sale. It's a mother plant, the protected source code for future propagation, high value, high security.
Crucial point.
And third, tracing its likely origins and the whole propagation strategy back to Thailand, which is this major global center for cultivating and exporting these kinds of aesthetic variations in living things.
Right. And if we zoom out for a final thought, what we're seeing here is potentially the start of a very deliberate market rollout.
How so?
Well, you have this rare find, this specific variegated type that wasn't widely available. Now it's identified, secured, and being propagated as a mother plant in a major cultivation hub like Thailand.
Okay.
That means this unique look is basically poised to go from being a rare stumble for one gardener to potentially a common sight in garden centers worldwide. It's being set up for mass production. So we're watching a trend potentially being born, or at least scaled up.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? In this era where rare plant features can be cloned and mass-marketed so effectively, what does rarity even mean long-term? And maybe, just maybe, the gardener's preference for the classic dull green holds a different kind of value.
The value of resisting the trend, or just appreciating functional aesthetics.
Perhaps both. It's something for you to think about. Keep an eye out in the shops. If you start seeing variegated Crown of Thorns plants appear everywhere in a year or two, you'll know the journey it likely took from that one protected mother plant, maybe in Thailand, all the way to your local nursery. A whole life cycle of a botanical trend.